like it. Cheers. All right, we're
back.
Live. We are back. Finally, it's been a while. My hair's a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Your beard's a little
whiter,
a little grayer. Let me turn this music down without calling 911.
Thank you all for joining us again. It feels so good to be back here
Yep.
at the Silt Sessions.
Silt Sessions Holiday Edition. We had season number 1. That was a hit. People had so much fun with that. I had fun.
It was a great time.
There was at least one episode that we both had a little too much fun.
Maybe.
But all those episodes are still available. You can go onto our website and see them. You can go to our YouTube channel and find them. And some of those flights you can actually still purchase. We have those wines or some similar, maybe different vintage. But you can watch those Silt Sessions and enjoy the show and taste along with us. So
the edutainment is still there.
David is our professor here. So if you're first time here, first of all, welcome. For those of you that purchased the flight, thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to everybody that has helped keep not just us, but all small businesses going. It's been quite a hectic and tough season for a lot of small businesses. And so cheers to you guys for shopping local, having fun, enjoying wine, and thank you for enjoying this holiday edition if you bought the flight. If you didn't buy the flight, you still can do it. We're going to, this show is live right now on Facebook, of course, but we're going to put this on YouTube. We'll share it to our Facebook page. You can buy the flight and watch again. So, I don't think we introduced ourselves. My name's Phil Ogilvie. This is my handsome twin brother,
David Ogilvie.
Yes.
Nice to meet you if I don't know you.
And David oversees all production, from the soil all the way to the glass, the bottle, getting that wine into the glass. And then I oversee more of the business items and marketing and sales and that kind of stuff. But and then we have a full team here at Silt Wine Company that have been working hard. My wife Shannon, a lot of you club members know her. She oversees our tasting room. Our sister Robin oversees all events. And our cousin Gail Soto oversees our fulfillment. So a lot of you have talked with her, receiving your wines. And then we have a great marketing director, Alex. And so you guys maybe have responded to her with social media and such. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through 3 wines today in our show. It's not just a tasting. We got a little bit of edutainment in there. David, what wines are we tasting today?
We're going to start with our brand new, newly released Chardonnay, our 2019 Chardonnay released at the beginning of this month in December. Then we're going to do, I got these out of order here, we're going to do our brand new Méthode Traditionelle Sparkling, our sparkling wine. Now we do have other sparklings, this is a new one. And so we'll talk about the differences of those sparkling wines. And then we're going to do our 2017 Reclamation Red Blend. Such a good wine. We're going to talk about why it's called Reclamation and get into that wine. So really excited to do that.
And what's great about these wines, we put this flight together because they really pair so well with the holidays. I mean, these are obviously sparkling is just so much fun during New Year's, and we'll get to that here at the end of the show. But a lot of great, I mean, that Reclamation Red, I mean, that just pairs so well with those rich meals, holiday meals. So next we're going to talk about these wines. We're also going to have a couple segments in between the tastings. We're going to talk about what's happening in the vineyard. Yes. David is doing some awesome stuff out there. And then our true edutainment. We're going to talk about the different styles of sparkling. For those of you that have been around Silt Wine Company for a bit, you know we've had several different styles of sparkling wine coming through, and they're all a little bit different. It's really fascinating, and they're all made differently. And I think it's important to understand that process, and David is going to tell us all about that. So, finally, here's how to participate. Thank you so much for joining us and watching this. We already shared you can participate by buying the flight. If you don't have the flight, enjoy the show right now. But buy the flight and then enjoy it with some friends. You can open these bottles with your friends, watch the show on YouTube or Facebook page, and really have a great time. But then also, share this video. In fact, you can share it right now. Thank you for sharing. For those of you who already have, share this video because Facebook loves to see that being shared. What do we always say? Sharing is caring, right? Sharing is caring. Do you care? Do you care about small businesses, about wineries in Clarksburg? If you do,
We all do.
We all do. So share this video right now. And of course, when it gets put on YouTube and Facebook, then share it again for us. It always helps. And then finally, as you're watching the show, I've got my trusty iPad here. I am going to try to manage questions. Please ask questions, engage with us. We love getting questions. I always am hoping that we can stump David. I don't think it's happened yet. But let's try to stump David. Ask David a really hard. Yeah, it's gonna. As long as you say it with confidence, we're all gonna believe you. So have fun with it. Ask David some questions, and we'll try to answer the best we can and educate our audience here.
Yeah.
So with that, I think I got through all my main introductions here. Yeah, let's move on to this Chardonnay. I'm glad we're starting with this. It's so fruit forward. I've got plenty in my glass.
So,
Cheers.
like I said, this is our brand new Chardonnay. We just released this at the beginning of December. We finished the 2018 Chardonnay in November, and we just got into the 2019. This is just such a wonderful wine. 2019 vintage was a low-yielding vintage, which means that there's kind of uplifts some of that fruit, and of course in the Delta here we have these cooling breezes that help preserve the acidity in the wine. So with this wine, you're going to get a lot of that fruit. As we've said in the past, as a winemaker in Clarksburg and as a grape grower in Clarksburg, I want to showcase the fruit. I don't want to showcase the oak barrel so much. There's a bit of oak in here. There's just a touch of it, a kiss of oak.
Kiss of oak.
It's a blend of neutral and French oak, new French oak. So it's somewhere around the 15 to 17% equivalent of new oak.
Okay.
So if you stick your nose in that glass, if you're joining us here, what leaps out is this intense kind of apricot peach character. And then when I put it in the mouth, you just get this juiciness. It's like juicy pear and maybe just a touch of mango kind of thing. That mango, if you eat mango and you get that finish of the mango, kind of reminds me of this wine as well.
Mango. Mm-hmm. I always get pear, and I feel like pear notes in Chardonnay. It seems to be like a very common trait in Clarksburg.
Yeah, I'd say so. And just the body of the wine too. I'm just having taken a sip. It does have some weight to it, and that kind of reminds me that this was a low yielding year. That weight to the wine. So, what do you guys? Those of you who are watching, what do you guys think? Let us know in your comments.
Yeah, I hope that we've got a few of the people that bought this flight are enjoying the video right now, hopefully, and we'd love to hear what your tasting notes as well. David, how would you compare the 2019? You kind of got into the yield, the lower yield influences, but how would you compare this Chard with the previous 2018 that we sold out of?
Well, it has a lot. The biggest difference right now is the fruitiness of the wine. Mm-hmm. As the wine ages, you'll get the fruit will kind of dissipate over time. And so, if I had a bottle of 2018 side by side with the 2019, the 2019 is going to be way more fruit forward. But it doesn't mean the 2018 isn't tasting great, and that's because of the body and the acidity of the wine and just that touch of oak. You're going to get more fruit on the 2019 right now.
And for a Chardonnay, this Chardonnay sits right around 13% alcohol. And in this grand scheme of things, the spectrum, where does that sit on let's say the shelf? Is this kind of right in the middle of the road, or?
Yeah, this would be for as far as white wines go. This is actually around 13.5. I don't actually remember what's on the label. 13.2%. So. That's right there, kind of on the higher end for whites. A lot of our Sauvignon Blanc, Chenin Blanc are going to be in the 12.5% range, and with a little bit more acidity. But for Chardonnay, we're just kind of right up there, around between 13 and 13.5%.
Creighton commenting, he's loving the first wine.
Great. Thank you, Creighton, for joining us.
Thank you for joining us. Does somebody have a question? Definitely get the. I'm hearing.
There's a bug there.
what was the question,
It
Gail?
was about the oak.
Oh,
The oak usage? Did we get it already?
Mm-mm.
All right. Well, ask your question again. I think we missed it. If you have another question, you seen it? Must be one. So, any other final comments on the Chardonnay, David?
no, just enjoy it
How
while
many-
it lasts.
How many acres of Chardonnay do we grow? Oh, that puts you
Well,
on the spot.
Yeah, that's kind of on the
Around
spot.
like 300.
Maybe 300 acres or so is a good portion of what we do. This actually came from the Joe Haas vineyard. James and
we
Noel
love
Joe
James.
Haas.
James
Thank you.
Noel, thank you so much.
I think I saw Noel join us on the comments there. But this came from their vineyard. Right across the slough from us is we call Lisbon Island, and they live on that island. And their vineyard is an old Wente clone vineyard, been around for 25 plus years, and just a great vineyard.
But right along the Sacramento River.
Right on the
Gets
Sacramento
that real delta breeze coming through. It's amazing just being right up there, and those soils are amazing.
Mm.
And as the crow flies, that's like 2 miles from here? Not even.
Yeah, maybe 2 miles. Hard to say.
Okay,
Well, should
Jason
we,
wants to know how to get one of these slick jackets.
Oh,
Oh man, I don't think
there's
we have
one.
any left.
Yeah,
Do we have
there's.
one?
I see at least one, if not two, over there in the
Yeah.
tasting room
I
here.
don't know.
You have to come
You
curbside
gotta
pickup.
Curbside pickup. Find out. I don't even know what we're selling them for. We call these the owner's jackets. All the owners got one, and then we had a little extra.
Yeah.
All right. So, Noel just mentioned that vineyard was planted in 1991.
91.
So do the math. 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's like 30, almost, 30 years old, I guess.
Great. Jason says, "On my way." Okay. So let's talk about, before you open this.
Okay.
Let's talk about what's happening in the vineyard, because for growers like us, and you're more of the grower than I am, of course. Like what's happening in the vineyard right now is hugely important.
Yes.
Hugely important. But most people don't even recognize it, right?
Well,
I mean, I feel like I'm stealing your thunder. You keep
yeah.
going. You
So,
talk about it.
so in the vineyard right now, it is actually one of my favorite times of the year. We're pruning. We're pruning the grapevine. So if you drive out in the vineyards in November, early December, you'll see just canes of vines just everywhere. Leaves are falling off. Excuse me. But it's just kind of like this big bush of a vine with no leaves on. And the vine is now gone dormant. The leaves have fallen off. It's always nice when we get a good wind come through and just shakes off all the leaves, and then you just have these canes everywhere.
Canes
now,
are like the branches.
The branches of the vines.
Yeah.
So now we go through, and we're on the arms of the vines where all the canes are coming through. We're cutting those to 2 bud spurs, and doing that sets the vine up for new growth in the springtime. So what we're doing now is preparing for the next vintage. And it's cold and wet and muddy outside, and what we're doing is getting the whole vine ready for new growth, leaving 2 bud spurs, and sometimes there's a couple of vineyards we're doing now is cane pruning, and that just gets the vine ready, and you're going to have, out of those 2 bud spurs, you're going to have 2 shoots come out, and we'll go through and shoot thin down to 1.5 shoots per spur. So you take that arm and you take some of the shoots off and get a nice clear fruiting zone, and it's just setting the vine up for good high quality Chardonnay or Dietz Syrah, whatever we're growing. So that's what's
so
going
much
on.
math in
Yeah,
vineyard
right now I'm
preparation.
calculating what my target yields will be. And in those buds that were leaving there, those were developed on those canes in spring of last year, the last spring. So spring of this year, of 2020. And so you can take that bud in May of 2020 and see how many clusters, if you open it up and look in a microscope, you can see how many clusters you're going to have in that bud the following year. Obviously you can't grow the cluster off of that bud you just destroyed, but some people do it and kind of gauge what the crop will look like.
And so we send a crew through, and we are cutting all these canes off. We're preparing for the future, and how long does it take to get, let's just say, per average block? You know, let's say an average block is, 35 acres.
That'd be high, but I mean, say a 20-acre block will take a crew of 10 people, roughly 2 to 3 days, depending on the type of pruning we're doing and the variety. Because different varieties are easier to prune. Cabernet Sauvignon is hard to prune because it's just such a strong vine. It really your hands hurt after a while. But it's really, for those of you who have a vine in your backyard, you might know this, but it's such a cathartic, relaxing thing to just go out and take a row and just prune. I'll do it I'll start and give an example for the crew to come through, and I'll prune 50 vines just to do it. And you start and it's hard to stop sometimes.
It's such a farm.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
That's great. That's great. So we've farmed just with our family about 1,200 acres, and so how long does it take to do all those acres, and then we typically start with the whites and end with the reds, right?
So we start in early December, mid-December, and we'll be pruning with a break in the middle. We'll be pruning till early February, and we prune whites and Pinot Noir first, and then we finish with Cabernet Sauvignon, Petit Syrah, Chenin Blanc, and Sauvignon Blanc, because those varieties get a wood canker disease that is spread through rain, and so you want to prune those later after the rain has already dispersed those spores, and so you're reducing the chances of those active spores being settling down on those pruning ones. So we prune those later.
Our friend Christy Jordan.
Oh, of course, Christy.
Right. She's already she's so much fun. On the older episodes, I mean, she was just busting you up all the time.
Yeah.
But she's starting a new hashtag called #2BudSpurs.
2Bud Spurs.
2Bud Spurs. I think Christy was the one that made the bingo sheet.
Oh, right.
Remember we were doing all that? Anyway, next season 2 coming up.
Yeah. And I used to work for Budweiser, but 2Bud Spurs need something else.
Okay, well, let's move on to this sparkling, because we are very excited about this sparkling.
Yes.
We've been talking about making this sparkling for 2 years now.
Yeah.
We finally got it.
Let's talk about how we open a bottle of sparkling wine. No matter what sparkling you do,
move to the middle here.
You want to point it away from your friends and towards your enemies, just in case that cork pops off. So we start by putting your thumb over the cork and opening up the cage. And you take that cage off and stick your thumb back on. You don't want that cork, pressure underneath.
This is when you shake it.
Yeah, if you just want a NASCAR race, you just shake it and then you let it. But then the trick to opening a bottle, a sparkling bottle of wine, is you keep the label out. That was a joke. And then you hold the cork and you twist the bottom. And that releases the cork. And then if you're in a restaurant, that was a bad opening because it made such a loud sound. You're supposed to just whisper it. Go,
what is it, like an angel tooting or something?
I don't know anything about that. You
I've heard that before.
Chardonnay? There you go. So I'll pour. Now we're using our previous glassware, but a lot of times you'll see, most of the time, you'll see.
Let's just grab it.
There's other glassware you can do for sparkling. Phil might find it there. Do we have some?
I think so. Here we go.
And the idea with sparkling wine is that you want to showcase the bubbles, right? And so often you have taller glassware to showcase those bubbles. Flutes, as they say. In the tasting room, if you come try, you'll get a glass like this. Pour some nice bubbles.
I want to jump into this. Look, that's just beautiful. I mean, crystal clear.
And you just got these tiny bubbles. Nice small bubbles. Who's enjoying this with us? Oh man,
that's great.
This puts a smile on my face. This is a labor of love. We talked about doing this for a while.
So I'll just, from a layman perspective, because I'm not really great at wine tasting when it comes to sparkling. Because I think the bubbles mask the flavor for me sometimes. And so, because I'm so focused on the bubbles, because I love the bubbles. Like, so I'm getting like the tartness. I love the tartness of this. Tell me more about the flavor profile that we should be getting off of this.
So, you know, drinking champagne or sparkling wine is very much a tactile experience. You want to feel those bubbles, and then most sparkling wines, because their harvest is so early, and are lower alcohol, you have this intense acidity like this does, and that is why, my friends, Chenin Blanc, which this is great for sparkling wine, because Chenin Blanc has a natural. Is naturally high in acid, and so we love making sparkling out of Chenin Blanc. So again, the Silt Méthode Traditionelle sparkling, you get that. As far as other flavors, you get this kind of toastiness, and that is the yeast that the wine ages on, and we're going to talk about the difference in this wine. So you get this kind of toastiness, and then a little kind of a minerality, a slaty kind of thing, and like my brother said, it's subdued fruit. But then when you put it in your mouth, you get this juicy, white, fleshy peach flavor that I just love. I love, and
white peach, totally.
White peach. Yeah.
Once you say that. I always feel like when I'm tasting wine with David, he'll say, "Oh, I taste this," and then I'm like, "Yeah, I do taste that. Oh, I taste that. Oh, I smell this." So Chenin Blanc, where do you remember which block?
It's block 44, right out here.
Right here on the ranch. Okay.
Right. If you're coming from West Sacramento, it's the first. Well, I guess it's not the first vineyard. First vineyard you see is 43 Petit Syrah, and then the next vineyard is 44 or old vine Chenin Blanc.
So tell me about. So we harvest this earlier than other Chenin Blancs, right?
Yeah.
So tell me about the harvesting process for this wine.
So when we're harvesting, we're doing it in a small lot, picking by hand. We're picking just nice looking clusters that are at that stage. All the clusters are nice. They're not getting that botrytis or anything yet. And so when we pick it, we get into the winery, and it's really only like 18 and a half, 19 bricks, and then the resulting
bricks is a measure of sugar.
Yeah. And then the resulting wine. Okay, we're going to talk about making sparkling wine.
All right, segment. This is the next segment. Is the difference, the edutainment here, the different styles of sparkling, because this is Méthode Traditionelle, which is very unique, different than what we've had in the past.
Yeah. So. Well, not very different. There's one key difference, though. So, Méthode Traditionelle is champagne. It's the champagne method, or Méthode Champenoise. And due to TTB regulations on what we can call a wine in the United States, we can't really put champagne on our bottle of wine.
Right.
And so we call it Méthode Traditionelle.
Or we'll just use the word sparkling.
Yeah, well,
So
sparkling
sparkling
Chenin Blanc, and Méthode Traditionelle connotates the style of sparkling wine that is. So this wine was fermented into a dry white wine with low alcohol, and then bottled with a small amount of yeast and grape sugar, and then that re-ferments in the bottle, in this bottle. That this wine, if you have this bottle, it went through what we call a secondary fermentation in this bottle. So
the magic is in the bottle.
Yeah. and then we age the wine in the bottle on that yeast, and in the winery, if we have a tank of wine and fermentation is finished, or if we're fermenting in barrel, which we do sometimes with white wines, and the barrel fermentation finishes, then you have a layer of yeast at the bottom, and it's dead yeast. Is autolysis, yeast autolysis, which means they're dying and they're decomposing and they're releasing their guts. They're releasing their guts, and that's all.
Awesome.
That's just all the flavor that that comes into the wine.
These guts.
And so it really lends this interesting component. And when it's in the bottle like this, the re-fermentation that happens builds up a whole lot of pressure. And when we bottle it, we put a basically like a beer crown on, a beer cap, a beer bottle cap on the top. And then that's how it's aged, on its side. And then over time, we decide, okay, we're ready. We've tasted the wine. It tastes ready to do the final bottling, and what we call disgorgement, and then we start the famous riddling process. So we riddle the wine, which means we gradually turn it on its end with the neck. Yeah, I'll grab this one. So we turn it, and remember, it has that beer crown on there, right, at the bottom. And so you riddle it, and you turn it, and you turn it, and you turn it, and then all the sediment comes down to the bottom.
The yeast.
The yeast sediment.
Dead yeast.
The dead yeast holes. And then the trick is, if you want a clear glass of wine, is you got to get that yeast out, and you put the cork in. And to do that, eventually the bottle's upside down, and you freeze the tip. You freeze the bottom, or the top of the bottle there. You freeze it, and then in a very quick action, you do the disgorgement process. And you take that crown off, and then you lift the bottle up, and the frozen part shoots out. The yeast slug shoots out, and then you cover it and pour a little bit more of Chenin Blanc wine in there, and then you put the cork in. This cork goes back in, or goes in, and then you put the cage around it, and then then it's done. Then you make the bottle look fancy with a foil and our nice label. So that's that process.
Hey, that is and that's why this is such a special wine. There's so much more that goes on in making a wine like this.
Right, and that's where, in doing it that way, you get those yeasty characters in the wine, which lend different flavors, and you get finer bubbles, more bubbles, because there's more pressure. And it just makes fantastic wine. So now I want to tell you.
I got a question, actually. A couple of comments. Debbie, you're awesome. This is not sacrilege. Debbie says, this might be sacrilege, but I just dropped a few fresh raspberries in my... Oh, that sounds awesome.
Sounds good.
Go for it. Christy, a little while ago, had a good question. I'm going to find it. She also said, I love the taste of dying yeast guts on a Sunday afternoon. Where was it? Oh, here it is. The label says, bottled with tirage in winter. What is a tirage?
Tirage is the addition of that sugary syrup with yeast, and then it re-ferments in the bottle and ages that way. So that's done in the winter after we've done the primary fermentation in a tank, and so you're bottling a wine that is low alcohol and super high acid, and then you're adding sugar to it. That's re-fermenting. So what does that do? You're making more alcohol,
Which adds the bubbles.
But also adds alcohol. And so the resulting wine, and then so the resulting wine is closer to 12.5% alcohol.
Great. That was a great question, Chrissy.
Yeah.
Great question, and that was a really good answer.
All right.
David always gives those good answers.
So should we talk about the differences between our wines here?
These are super important. Let me move this out of the way.
All right. So those of you guys who've been around a while, you've seen these before. This, we don't have any more left. This came out of the library. I didn't even know that we had this. My brother just brought it out before we started taping. So this is our standard Charmat Method Sparkling Chenin Blanc. And
let's mention all three before you go into detail.
And then this is the Sparkling Chenin that is in the Pétillant Natural style.
Pet nat.
Pet nat.
That's the cool way to do it.
Yeah.
If you wear really big wide brim hats, you just say pet.
I got that.
Yeah, that's funny, right? That was good. I liked it.
Was it Michael Connell?
Anyway.
So the Charmat method is different. They're all sparkling Chenin Blanc. They're all sparkling wines, and we're gonna talk about the difference between them. So this is made in the Charmat style, which is also known as Prosecco style. All you Prosecco lovers out there, raise your hands. I love Prosecco.
I love Prosecco.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
and Gail's behind the camera. She's a Prosecco lover as well. So Prosecco style is really you're doing the same thing, except the secondary fermentation does not happen in the bottle. It happens in another tank, and then you age the wine for a short amount of time in that tank on the yeast. But it's a natural process. Okay, there's another way to make sparkling wine, and you might find that elsewhere on the bottom shelf of a store or somewhere, where you just take your wine and you force carbonate it with CO2.
Isn't that like soda?
Like soda, yeah.
Okay.
And that, you know, the telltale sign of that is just super big bubbles and
$5.99 for a 2-liter bottle.
maybe
That's a telltale sign, right?
Well, no, we can't go that far. I don't know, because there's large producers who are able to do the Charmat method and still make
Really?
it. Yeah, make it.
Oh, okay.
Make it.
Well, that's good.
Very
I
good.
stand corrected.
But the Charmat method requires a little bit of less aging, and you're still aging on its own yeast. You're adding that tirage into a tank instead of into a bottle, and then it goes through that natural re-fermentation process, building up natural CO2. And so this wine generally is going to have a slightly larger bubble because the pressures that build up are less, and it tends to be a lot fruitier. So this wine actually also is slightly sweeter. And so those of you who have been enjoying this wine,
I'm enjoying this wine.
yeah. Well, this wine has a lot of fruit, slightly sweeter, great with raspberries in the glass, and sipping on its own. And this has been, I think I can say, it's been our #1 seller this year.
Shannon's watching. She can mention.
She can verify. So, and this we do have some of. This one we've sold out of, and I've got another one in process, but it's not. We're not going to have it ready till May or June. So this wine is the Pétillant style. Does not do a secondary fermentation, but it finishes fermentation in this bottle.
The entire fermentation process happens in that bottle.
No. We ferment this wine in a tank till it gets down. It starts out at 18 bricks, 19 bricks, and we ferment it down to 2 degrees bricks, and then we bottle it right away. And
you
then
still do the freeze thing.
And you see, this one does have that bottle cap on, and that's kind of signifies that it's Pétillant.
That's iconic.
Yeah, and so in this one, it's the primary fermentation that gives it the bubbles, but we still do the riddling process. And in that riddling process, it's a little more. In this wine, there's a lot more sediment. There's a lot more sediment. And so,
like it can be hazy, right?
Yeah, and
it's a very natural.
And if you look in the light, there's some haze in there.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
I love hazy IPAs, and this is like our hazy.
This is our hazy sparkling. And so we still do the same disgorgement, and then we top it up, because when you disgorge the yeast, you'll leave some room in the bottle, like down to here, and we want to top back up. So we top back up with the same Chenin Blanc still wine, and then we put a crown back on it, and then we fancy up the bottle with this the wax.
I really like the wax.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
So this is very laborious. This is very laborious. This is less laborious, but still a natural process that gives us a beautiful wine.
And it's probably easier to make larger quantities of this one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, question: all three the same vineyard?
Yes. I stand corrected. Earlier I said this came from Block 44. These two came from Block 44. This one came from Block 20, which is down at a cooler area of the AVA, down at the end of Jefferson Boulevard and Cortland Road. So,
Great.
yeah.
Well, at least you weren't stumped. Chrissy asked another great question. How do you get corks for sparkling wines into the bottle? Very hard. Like, look these strength. Look at his arms. Look how strong he is.
So this cork starts out not in this shape, and so there is a clamp that closes it down. You get it mechanically gets into the bottle, but once you release it, you can't get this back in. And if you can, I'm very impressed. I've never been able to do it myself.
So I did it once.
Yeah.
I did. I promise you I did. I was out of the cork, and what I did is I took a knife and I cut a piece, like a pie, out of it, and then cranked it in. And I never told anybody. I just said, yeah, I put it back in. I didn't tell anybody I cut it. I just looked awesome. Anyway, so I can't remember who asked it. It was a good question. You kind of touched base on it. Somebody said, wow, it sounds very labor intensive when we were talking about this one.
Yes.
How are these two about the same? It seems like this one is the most labor intensive, right?
Well, this one, they're about the same as far as labor intensity, but this one takes longer to make because you're aging it longer.
Which, if you're aging it longer,
that takes up space and
space.
time and money.
Okay. Let's talk about, before we move on, so that was edutainment section, but I do have questions about all three wines.
Let's do it.
Any other edutainment stuff to mention?
I think that's good.
And of course, ask questions. I'll go through all the questions, the comments real quick and see if there's any more questions. Tell me about the different flavor profiles for each of these. It all comes from Chenin Blanc.
Yes.
We're huge Chenin Blanc fans. So they all come from Chenin Blanc, but you did mention this one's the sweetest.
Mm-hmm.
But what are these different? And you mentioned different bubble sizes.
Yeah.
Tell me about the difference between all three of these wines. And granted, we can't buy this yet or right now, but 2020 vintage will be coming out when, like
May or June.
May or June.
It really comes down to tasting the wine, saying, "Is this ready to bottle yet, or to finish, to disgorge yet?" Because with these wines, you want to age them and get some of that yeast character when it's aging on the leaves. Otherwise, if you don't wait for that character to develop, then what's the point of aging on the leaves? Anyway, so as far as the difference between the wines, this one you're going to have a lot more fruit character, slightly sweeter, more of that kind of candy apple character with kind of a sweet yellow fleshy peach. This one we describe with kind of that white peach with more of the yeastier characters and much drier. This is a drier style. The Pet Nat is probably the driest one, meaning the least amount of residual sugar, and because everything's fermenting all the way down in this bottle, and then it's going to be slightly cloudy, and with that you get this kind of creamy note to it as well. So it's got great acidity, but with this creaminess as well, and I do have a couple bottles of these at home. This is our 2018 vintage, I believe. Yeah, 2018. We did not make a 2019. I think it was one of those things where we decided, well, we haven't sold out of the 2018 yet. People weren't responding to it, and then after the vintage was over, everyone kind of understood what it was, and it just sold out really quick. And so we made twice as much of this year. The original vintage was 2018, and we made 30 cases, or 35 cases, I think. And then with this for the 2020 vintage, we've made. It's going to be somewhere around 60 to 70 cases. With this wine, we made about, I want to say about 200 cases, and it's not on there. This wine, the label says 100 cases. When it came down to it, that was the plan. When it came down to it, we only had 88 cases, and we've sold some already. So there's not a whole lot of this left.
It's moving pretty quick, and I'll say, yeah, this is my favorite. I'm a bubble guy, so I love the fine bubbles of this one. Shannon likes the pet nat the best. She can't wait to get more of the pet nat. And you know, this is, if you like sweeter wines, of course, like plenty of people like sweeter wine, this is your wine. I mean, this is a great, sweet, everyday drinking, like, that's a great sparkling. I want to throw a shout out to Bab Sandine. Thank you so much for watching
Babs.
again. I think you've maybe watched every single episode that we've done, I think. And Christy Jordan maybe too. There's a few of them out there. But she made a great comment. Thank you so much for giving us this gift. Love you so much. She also mentioned she just loves the education part of these. And
Yeah,
Dave,
I love that too.
You do such a good job doing that. He used to be a teacher, or substitute teacher.
I was a substitute teacher.
But
for a
you
while.
were looking at becoming an ag teacher for a while.
Yeah, I went to UC Davis, and I wanted to. I got into UC Davis to major in crop science and management because I wanted to be an ag teacher, and then I couldn't get into all my classes, so I took intro to winemaking, and then I fell in love with that. So altered my career.
Well, cheers to that
Cheers.
career alteration.
So should we talk about the deal we're doing right now with Sparkling, since we just done?
Let's do that.
Let's do
I think that's good. Instead of saving it till the end,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
talk about it right now. Go
'Cause
ahead.
Sparkling is on your mind now that you've been drinking the Sparkling. We're going to give 30% off. No promo code. If you order by Tuesday, 30% off so that you can have our wine at your party for New Year's Eve, your socially distanced party. So 30% off. Go to the website. It should be there.
Buy it for I
think
texted
Shannon was
Shannon earlier and said, hey, just drop the price 30%.
Yeah.
So I don't think you need a promo code or anything. You don't need a promo code or anything. And then also, like, think about some friends that need to experience Silt. Our mission at Silt Wine Company is to help you enjoy Clarksburg as much as we do. We want people to enjoy Clarksburg. Chenin Blanc is one of the premium grapes that our AVA produces, and we're known for it. And so if you ever want to introduce somebody to Clarksburg wines, these sparkling wines are some of the best wines to introduce them to Clarksburg with. So think about some friends that maybe need a little gift for New Year's. We have a fulfillment team that's doing a great job of getting these wines out, and we're hand delivering these wines. David and I and Gail and Shannon, like, we go out there and deliver. Mackenzie's out there. We go out and deliver these wines to make sure that people enjoy Clarksburg. So thank you for those that have already purchased them, and hopefully we can get some more.
And this is one of those things too. If you want to purchase this wine, and then for someone else, and then share this video with them, so they
There
can
we go.
taste the wine with us.
That's a great idea. Really, you know what we should do? In season number 2, and I'll share that. We're gonna have season number 2 of Silt Sessions coming this spring. Did you know that, David?
I didn't know that.
Okay,
I'm
David.
so excited though.
Yeah, we've been, as we got prepared for this holiday special, holiday edition, I think both Dave and I were like, yeah, we got to do season 2. Like, we're excited to do this again. I'm having fun
I was
tonight.
excited, yeah.
So, but season number 2, we've got to do. Oh, we got to see if we can get a pet nat and do a sparkling
flight. Oh man,
Maybe like the last
one.
the last episode.
Well, but then this might be done.
That
This might
be
be sold
gone.
out.
It might be
I
sold
don't know.
out.
We'll
Don't
see.
move quick. I don't know.
All right,
All right, moving on. Hey, Reclamation Red.
let's do
Let's
it.
try to jump through this pretty quick because I think we've been going
Should've done
for.
that. Oh, man, I'm gonna say this.
Going 44.
Let's see. Oh, wait, I already opened one of these. There we go. So, Reclamation. Are you gonna partake in the Reclamation?
Yeah.
Where's your other glass?
I think you stole it.
Oh,
But
did
let's
I?
just grab one right here. No. Here we go.
So, Reclamation. Reclamation Red. This is the second vintage of this wine, and some people might be thinking about reclamation in different ways. There's reclaimed wood, and reclaiming identity. I don't know, reclamation.
Let's talk about the wine first.
Oh, this is so good. Oh, so what are you gonna get in this? Tell me what you smell. I'm getting a lot of fruit. Kind of that dark cherry, blackberry pie kind of thing. The hints of oak overlaid in there.
Oh man, coming off of the sparkling, this is just so big. Like I want to have. I've got a good.
Slight creamy vanilla in there.
I've got some roast beef at home. I'm gonna enjoy this.
Roast beef. For Christmas, my wife Anna wanted steak. I was like, well, I'm not gonna go get, this is Christmas dinner. I went out and bought a tomahawk steak.
Oh,
it was amazing. I've never had one before, and I should have opened this.
Oh man. So let's talk about the blend. Do you remember the blend?
Yes.
Okay.
The blend is 60% Petit Syrah. I honestly, I did look this up earlier. 60% Petit Syrah, 15% Merlot, 10% Cabernet Franc, and 5%. That doesn't add up. Does that add up? 5% Syrah.
You had to bring up the percentages. I mean, I was just asking what the wines were.
Well,
but
I'm gonna verify that. Here I've got it on my phone right here.
All his notes.
60% Petit, 20% Merlot, 15% Cab Franc, 5% Syrah. So all these
about the Syrah.
Yeah, Syrah. It's all from Clarksburg. The Petit Syrah came from our family's vineyard. The Merlot and the Syrah came from our friends, the Scribners, across the river, across Sacramento River. And the Cab Franc, of course, came from Tom Merwin Vineyards, our other business partner. And it just makes a great wine. My thinking with this wine is I want it to be very fruit forward, kind of that, landing on that jammy quality, but then still have a structure to it and the tannin. And it's the same way with the previous vintage. We just have that jamminess, and this is just a great wine. So,
hey, what's up, Steve Wade?
Steve Wade,
long time, man. He just jumped on. Blast from the past.
So, and it finishes dry, but then that fruitiness just really kind of lends it kind of sweetness to the finish, even though it's dry.
Yeah.
Anyway, the greatest thing.
I think we launched the Reclamation series last year in 2019, right? I think
this time last year.
Is it this time last year?
Or spring.
No,
it was spring this year. It was spring 2020.
No, not this wine. I'm saying the Reclamation series. I just remember when we launched the first Reclamation Red, it just came out like just so powerful, and it was like, how are you gonna beat this?
There was like 60 cases, and it was gone in 2 months. Yeah.
And I remember that one had Geraldo in it.
Yes, it did.
And but yeah, I mean, and you delivered again, man. I mean, this is just so good, and very I always feel like the Reclamation Red will always be one of our most powerful wines.
Yeah.
It just really, Clarksburg isn't known for. We're not trying to make these huge, big, beefy cabs that Napa's doing a great job there. But we can come out and put something together that is. I mean, you're a master at blends. I mean, you've done such a great job with blends throughout your 5 years that we've been making wines. You've been making wines for Ogilvie Merwin Vintners, and your red blends are always fantastic. And you really, when you put this together, I mean, I know Shannon and I enjoy it at home. We're just like, man, this thing is just huge.
It's all in the vineyard, and the Petit Syrah is what shines through on this wine. It's just such a great variety. But I do want to mention, I'm sure people are wondering what does reclamation mean? What does it have to do with it, and what does the label mean? Reclamation, this whole region is built around the reclamation districts, which are all islands that help remove water from the islands. So we're surrounded by levees. All the islands have levees, and so we're kind of like a bathtub. And historically, those islands would flood not every year, but often, and make the land unfarmable. And so in the late 1800s, the federal government created the Reclamation Act that allowed reclamation districts to form and de-water these islands and for farmland. And that's how the delta was created for farming. And without the reclamation districts, we would not be able to be a great growing region that we are. And on this label, you can see all the reclamation districts called out. We have 765, the Glide District, 307, Lisbon Island, which is right across from us, 999, which is Holland Tract, which is a larger island, and then Merritt Island, actually where I live and where Bogle's got their start, is RD 150. And then
David's on the board for Reclamation 150.
Yes, I'm one of the trustees. And so our goal, our job is to maintain the levees and keep the water in the sloughs and the Sacramento River and not flooding houses and farmland.
Yeah, thank you for your work.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And we got to say, David said this, but like, we cannot have the Clarksburg AVA, American Viticulture Area, without the reclamation districts. That's why this label, this series is so important to us. Mm-hmm. We've all had family members that have been on these reclamation district boards, being trustees, and it's really a beautiful expression of the teamwork, the fellowship of farmers coming together to make sure that we can farm this ground, and it's truly neighbors being neighborly and making sure that everything is cared for and everybody's watching each other's back.
And our grandfather was a trustee of RD 999, and Tom's dad, Gary, he is currently a trustee of 999, and all of our neighbors are. So
yeah. Cheers to the reclamation districts, to all the trustees, to you as well.
Cheers.
And thank you for all the hard work you guys have been doing.
Oh, there's such a great wine. And Philip, keep talking about the reclamation series. We do have our reclamation BDX, which is our Bordeaux blend and of Bordeaux varietals, all grown in Clarksburg. And then we have a reclamation white, which is a white blend of also all Clarksburg. So, with that, we should wrap this up. This has been always goes longer than you expect when you're having such a good time.
Oh, cheers, dude. All right, let's to close this up. We'd love to hear your thoughts on these wines. We want your feedback. Message us and let us know what you think. You can, of course, go to our website, siltwineco.com. You can buy all of our wines. We have several wines up there. And we can ship them to you. If you're a club member, we ship for free. Well, for 1 cent. We can't ship for free necessarily. But if you're a club member, we take care of you. And we want to make sure you're taken care of. A couple other things. We've got other things for sale on the website. Namely, we got some gift cards in increments of, $35, $50, and $75. So Shannon set those up. Those make great gifts and saying an opportunity to say thank you, an opportunity to say, hey, cheers, we got to 2021. Let's get to 2021. And then, as we shared earlier, we're doing 30% off of all of our sparklings. That's not because we're just trying to move wine, but we want to share Clarksburg with you guys. We want you to enjoy Clarksburg. We want you to help your friends enjoy Clarksburg. And we want, our mission is to help you enjoy Clarksburg as much as we do. And dang, we really like Clarksburg a lot.
Yeah.
So, with that, stay tuned for season 2 of Silt Discussions. It's coming in the spring. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not giving you a date. Don't ask for a date.
We should make like a trailer. Season 2 trailer.
We should. We'll figure that one out in our spare time. So, season 2 is coming. And then as we always do, we want to end with our final toast. And I'll let you go ahead and take the lead here.
I'm going to do two quick ones, or one quick one. We have this nice Silt tree here. This was made by the mother-in-law of one of our fantastic tasting room staff, Teresa. Her mother-in-law, Susie Wells, she made this, and I love it. So thank you, Susie Wells. Toast to you, cheers to you. And then also, of course, want to do a heartfelt cheers out to all the nurses and doctors and everyone out there who's on the front lines of this COVID pandemic. And thank you for everything you're doing. Let's get this vaccine in order so that we can, get back open. And these small businesses are hurting the most in this process and in this whole thing. And we want to get back open so that we can have everyone and share Clarksville with everyone. So toast to the frontline workers.
Right. Cheers.
Did I take yours?
No. I'm going to say a cheers and a toast to all the small business owners because that's another front line. You guys are struggling, and we're struggling. And it's been hard work, but let's stick to it. And with that, I want to say cheers to all of you that are supporting those small businesses. Sometimes you just go and get that takeout, even if you have something else in the fridge you can use. And you just help your neighbor out. And we do what the reclamation districts have been doing. And we be neighbors, and we support our small businesses, and we help them survive through this. Because those small businesses are the ones that are helping to donate to the schools and helping to donate to the soccer teams and the baseball teams. Not the Walmarts, not Amazon. Help those small businesses survive because you want them to stick around. They're the fabric of the local economy. So that went a little deeper, a little bit of a soapbox.
That was good.
But I was right. Am I right?
You're right.
Okay,
So
cheers.
right.
Cheers to you guys. All right, and with that, we'll see you in the spring.
Happy
Thank
New Year.
you for enjoying Clarksburg. Happy New Year.